Hello everybody, and welcome to the second episode of my fictional stories. Today's fictional story is Jack's awesome trip to outer space. That's right, we are actually going to do a science fiction story. This should be interesting. Without further ado, let's get this show on the road. Jack, who is also a kid and who always likes to have fun, likes to research and do all kinds of cool stuff. He likes to find out things, research things, and he also likes to watch videos on YouTube, pretty much like all of us do. He has a GoAnimates account, and he also makes funny videos like adventures and many other things. One of his friends decided that they should have some of the adults help build their own rocket. So, well, what happened? One of his kids decided they wanted to go out in space or something. So they end up building a rocket that will be really good for them to travel. When they go up to space, they had decided to build a rocket, and they decided to make sure that it doesn't destroy the house, hopefully. As time passes, the rocket was built, and it took about probably 10 days. Jack, saying, "Hey, you want to go to space? You might make a fun trip there." He said, "Oh boy." Most of the kids really liked it, and thought the idea was cool, and thought if they had a GoPro, it would probably be a really good film. Because they could even film the stars, or even anything fun. That would be interesting as time passes. And also, kid David, Zach and David, has decided to take their own trips. And he also had other kids too. And also, they also had a great trip. As the trip continued, they decided to build the rocket that lasted 10 stories tall, bigger than the house. They would have to either move over to the airport or somewhere so it doesn't destroy the whole house, because then it would be a nightmare. Trying to figure out how to build the house, trying out how to get more houses in there, that would just be a nightmare. Many people would hate that. Many people wouldn't like that because they'd be like, now our house is destroyed. Then they have to get a new house. But nope. After the trip was done, they started to get ready for the trip. They always had radios, and their parents, of course, always make sure they have a tracking device so they can track them in the sky or wherever they are. And of course, they promised they would show their great films with their trip, so that way they could enjoy it. Mainly at taking off. The rocket automatically takes off. They count to 3, 2, 1, and then they took off, flying up in there. First thing, they want to talk. Since there's nothing really you can do, we'll just explore. Jill, one of his other kids, was there, saying, "Yeah, you want to take your camera? Let's record." As he recorded, he said, "Hello folks, we decided to take a trip up here. And you can see all our fun times we have. Maybe you could even watch us." As they come exploring and looking at other stuff, it's pretty cool, and their trip was very, very cool, yet fun for them. And also, he thought it'd be good because then he could record things. Then they end up seeing asteroids, which is very awesome. UFOs threatened to attack, but they wouldn't go for it. They would always have their own lasers of their own and shoot them down. And whenever they tried to attack them, he'd just fight them and shoot those people people down with all those lasers they have. The UFOs were now dead whenever they shoot them. The UFOs didn't like the humans, so they tried to attack them, which they said, "We're not going to let that happen." That's when the fight began. They started firing lasers, trying to get them to not do that anymore. Oh boy. But it didn't end there. It was an interesting thing. When they had it there, they went over and explored some more. They also looked at the ice, or the space station. They looked at the space station and they saw them pass by areas. They also saw a robot who has a master. He's saying, "Why did you kill off my special people? They were to attack you. We ordered them to attack you." And then they were scared, so they took out the weapons again and started shooting at the master and the robot, so that way they could be safe without having to have any problems, especially their parents. As apparently, they decided to take their radios. Jack had those radios, spaceships, so they could contact people, like their mother, and some other people, so they could reach them out there. And they were talking on them, talking to the mom, telling them how fun they have so far, and how much of an adventure it was, since they had to shoot down lasers and shoot down UFOs, aliens, and robots that were trying to attack. But did they? They were obviously going to fail, actually, because we know they're going to fail, because who would ever attack a kid like that? Plus, if they didn't have any lasers or anything to shoot, they'd be out of luck. They wouldn't have any luck at all, because otherwise they would have just ran off, and they would have been captured anyway, and taken to their own planet. Oh boy, was that ever interesting. Well, after the time, they decided to go to sleep that one night, seeing as they brought their own food, which was interesting. Most of the time, it was cool. Jack said, "Hey, I know what. Instead of always laying around in the spaceship, I will be floating." He asked Jill, David, or any of his kids if he wanted to join him. At first they thought, "No, I don't think so. That might not be a good idea. And plus, we could get lost and not find the ship and return." And they said, "Oh, come on, take chances." So they end up falling to sleep just floating, which made them fall asleep 2 seconds than they normally do. Most of them said they slept like a baby. David was one of them who slept like a baby in there. Then, when they woke up, they thought, didn't we have a good night's sleep up there? At least we got a little to float down there. Then, they make sure to look, and they know they're kind of away from their ship, because they shouldn't have done that. But, somehow, they finally found their ways to return to it. But they didn't head home just that time. They explored some more, found out how to listen to radio stations from the Earth, which would be impossible. See, the kids had the radio that had an antenna larger than 155 feet, which they'd have to be careful, so that way no other antenna would poke somebody in the eye, or hit something. If they were ever wanting to head to the ship to go somewhere around in space, they'd have to pull the antenna down or even push it lower so it doesn't end up hitting the top of the ship. Otherwise, they would end up breaking the antenna. Then, they would explore all the planets, because that's what they wanted to do before they head back. One time, one of the kids, Jack, said, "Hey, give me some water. I want to have some water." Noticing that the cup was too big, Jack knew he was going to spill the water anytime soon. But then he didn't want any more of the water. So then he just let the water float around in the air and then cause trouble that way. Now, boy. And then, 2 hours later, the water pitcher was heading close to the Earth. And when it came there, it fell way down there. And the kids were like, "Whoa!" They had a tracking device, see, so they could track anything they see in sight. And including that pitcher of water they just drank, which was obviously more than 1 pound tall. So that obviously could be causing issues, because that could be hitting something. Needless to say, the lid came off of the pitcher. And also, when Jack let it go, he had the lid off. So that means the water would be spraying everywhere. Then, when the cup decided to flip, it fell so fast, and then it was flipping upside down. The cup decided to have its... The cup was on the bottom of its side, and it would flip, zigzag, and flip all the way down like that, and flip all down there. While it was trying to reach somewhere, it landed close to a car, which was very close. But most people got sprayed because there was so much water. Most of the people got their shoes wet. Jack was the one to say, "Well, at least it didn't get in someone's car. Otherwise, it would have broke because that pitcher was so big. It was about 3 pounds tall, which means it had so much water in it. Man, if only it didn't have much water, it might not have had so much impact." Huh. Well, it was about time that they actually head down back to their house. They've been packing their stuff, and one night they started packing. Then they decided to take off and land right close to the house. And when one of Jack's friends said, "Hey, how about we go really fast? And then, before we get to the ground, we'll slow down." Jack said, "Of course. Because you don't want to go so fast that you end up hitting someone's house. Or hitting something else accidentally. Especially if you're in the ocean and you collide right to the water. That would be bad news." So they have a fun time trying to creep themselves out. And all the kids would have fun screaming when they would come down. And it was pretty funny. It was very, very funny. Not to mention, it was very interesting. 'Cause they had a interesting, funny trip. That must have been very funny. They even flew as fast. And then David made sure to warn Jack, saying, "Remember, when we come down, you'll have to go a little slower." Jack says, "I know. I remember you said that. You don't have to remind me again, you know. Plus, you remind me about how many times now." "Yeah?"
View 14 minutes.
As that trip became, that was most of the funnest trip they ever had. Okay!
15 minutes, 2 seconds.
But, as we know, that had to be a very fun time. They came home, and they told everything about it. They even said what they did. They said they had a fun time. Well, that's the end of the story. If you liked it? Great. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.